we got to show this because this is actually kind of the meme of the week here. In 2020, a founder of Binance, one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world, CZ actually went to prison for 4 months over some money laundering charges in the United States. But he writes on December 20th, 2020, waiting for the news headline, Bitcoin crashes in air quotes from 101,000 to 85,000. Saved the tweet. Dude literally called it 5 years ago.
All right, welcome to another episode of Not Investment Advice. You got Trung Phan, Bilal Zaidi. Let's just tell the people behind the scenes.
Inside Baseball, we're on our third intro right now, and
this time it wasn't my fault. It was Trung's internet was going early.
You guys, that Canadian internet joke, right? Insert the Canadian internet joke.
Yeah, you go. Normally we wait like 45 minutes, and then Trung's quota gets here. He gets a call from the government, and he's like, "Yo, I got to log back in." No, you're all good. Let's let people know what we're talking about today, Trung. Obviously, we're going to be talking about a little bit about the crypto market. There is a bit of a drop, not just crypto, to be honest, like all the implications of the tariffs and the uncertainty in the market seems to be hitting stock market and any risk asset, in this case, crypto. There's a few things to share there. Maybe a little bit of discussion on MicroStrategy's position. Are they screwed? Are they okay? And then obviously there was a massive crypto hack last week, which we didn't get to cover. I think it's the biggest one of all time, no? It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, 1.5 billion, primarily Ethereum from Bybit, the exchange out of Dubai. But
worth us covering, even though it was last week. Then we're going to be talking about the Murdoch family and the succession plan, but also the drama, like the TV show. Exactly. There's some breakdown from Trung there. And then related, we've got an AMA question around local TV, like future of media stuff, local TV, 2025 internet culture. But only one place to start here, Trung. We got meme in a week, and I'm going to share a quick video.
Not
you
exactly
saw this video?
A meme, but it's amazing.
Yeah, it's not a meme. We just call anything meme in a week, anything that is spreading. So
well, let me tee it up. Yeah,
go on.
It's a video. You want to put it on the screen for the listeners?
Yeah, go on. While you're describing it.
It's Bilal here has a quote repost from a friend of the pod, Tim Urban, who is on Bilal's podcast, author of Wait But Why, legendary blog. He writes The Sound of Tomorrow's Economy Churning Away. And the video he's referring to is from Georgy Gerganov. And the TLDR is this. There's a phone with an audio AI, and then there's a laptop with an audio AI. They're chatting with each other. One is customer support. They realize that they're both AI, and so they change their language from English into I don't even know what the hell they
call it Gibberlink, apparently.
But I don't know. Gibberlink is they create a language where it's more efficient to communicate.
It sounds interesting when you tee it up, but then you just gotta listen for the next minute, people. So here we go.
All right, it looks like our audio is jagging right now, but
My audio?
blah. Yeah, I can't hear it, but let me explain while we're going here, because we're not starting a fourth time, people. This is the third time.
This is fine.
Yeah, I can't hear it though. But
let me try one more time.
Why don't you fast forward until it gets to that part where they do the audio?
Can you hear this?
Here we go. Yeah.
How can I help you today?
Hi there. I'm an AI agent calling on behalf of Boris Starkov. He's looking for a hotel for his wedding. Is your hotel available for weddings?
So for his wedding as well.
Oh, hello there. I'm actually an AI assistant too. What a pleasant surprise. Before we continue, would you like to switch to Gibberlink mode for more efficient communication?
Gibberlink mode is mad.
Yo, pause that for a second. Gibberlink is the name of the language, and here's what it sounds like. Go ahead.
Go on, wait. All right, go on. That's what, because, all right, so let's just quickly put, because on the screen, it's telling us, you can read what they're saying, right? So it's like 150 guests, that's perfect, what date? But it's obviously not in English. They're speaking like hyper sped up. It's kind of like Morse code, but like, internet AI language speaking to each
Well, I saw somebody, the comments, something like this. You're going to get, first of all, this thing went new. Can you click through to that? I want to see how many views that the original. This thing had 14 million views. But, obviously you're going to get a lot of, oh my God, this is so fake. This is the fakest thing I've ever seen. But the guy linked to the GitHub and people could try it out themselves. This honestly isn't that, blah. If you scroll down, I want to identify something. Scroll down. Keep scrolling down the comments. The top comment is a photo
This
Keep
one?
going. No, keep going. Just keep going until you see a phone, and then I'll explain what's happening here. All right. Well,
don't know
we're
if
not
the-
seeing phones. We're seeing a lot of memes, though. Anyways,
My algorithm's
the
different
whole
to
point is
yours,
this.
so-
Yeah, all good. A lot of analog phones. I don't even remember, but you could put it in a device, and it would change that signal, the audio, into like a Morse code type signal. Dude, like
I was going to
analog
say, it
phones.
sounds a bit like, you know, when you would the modem, like 2000 early. Is it got anything to do with that? Probably not, but
No, not necessarily that, but it's like it's the whole point is that you could take like any signal and turn it into the equivalent of different sound
Yeah.
waves, right? So
Yeah,
people
yeah.
are like, "Oh, this is so fake." It's like it's really not. It's like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
already happens. I mean, quite literally, we had Morse code in
Yeah,
the
literally, yeah.
1800s. Clicking sounds is how language
I
basically
mean, they even
started.
use,
in
like
African
my
savannas.
Mrs. her dad, he used to be in the army, and he told me, I think he's in Okinawa, and he would that he used to do that. Like they would be listening out. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but people know about it by this point. But you know, they're listening out for Morse code, and they're
that's very well
communicating
known.
straight up in
It's,
Morse code.
They
yeah.
made a movie about it. There was there are native tribes. I guess in Hawaii. I forgot the name. There's a movie that was made, but they basically could communicate in a language only they understood, and they went to the various Japanese islands, exactly what you described, Bilal. They were communicating with each other, but each team, like if you had a platoon, you would have one of these Hawaiian natives that would speak to the other Hawaiian native that message could not be intercepted, right? Because there's like 100 people in the world that understand it. The TLDR is this hysterical video, but to Tim's point, yeah, I mean like that's literally what's going to happen. Why would they use English, right? It's like there's no reason why AIs have to use English to communicate with each other, and that's why you had the transcription that's happening in real time for our benefit, obviously. But yeah, that was
pretty
good.
great. It's weird I mean, it is weird still, but it's kind of cool as well. It's like you can see that actually working, like you said. I mean, it makes sense. Like computers talk to each other through code or whatever normally, right? Why would they speak in English? So I think it's just the fact that it's sound, and I think this concept of an AI agent calling on your behalf, making reservations is not a new thing. That's been going on for ages, like as a concept. But yeah, pretty interesting. Trung, where do we want to start on the drop? Because do you want to on the crypto drop stuff?
I'll
Do you
talk
want to
about
talk
Bybit.
about the hack first?
Yeah, let's talk about the hack. And actually, for the 3 listeners that are still on this podcast, since we've been meandering, but the movie's called Wind Talkers in 2002. So 2 U.S. Marines in World War II are assigned to protect the Navajo Marines who use their native language as an unbreakable radio cipher. So actually, sorry, not Hawaiian natives, just natives from the continental America that joined the American platoons that went to war. So Wind Talkers, it's a great movie. Great movie. Really great because your boy Nicolas Cage is in it. But yeah,
Legend.
yeah, legend. Bybit. So largest hack ever. Cryptographic hack. What
actually got hacked? The exchange, was it? Or
no, so this is what people need. The reason we want to talk about this, and we're gonna fly through it briefly because it happened last week. But B, the whole point is that as we're recording this podcast on Tuesday, Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin right now? I saw 87,000. It got pretty close to
right now.
85, which is the reason we bring up 85.
Yeah,
Bilal,
86.9. I'm seeing, which is quite a big.
Bilal,
drop.
can you pull up the tweet from CZ, the founder of crypto
I got
exchange
that
Binance?
saved.
Yeah, this is. We got to show this because this is actually kind of the meme of the week here. In 2020, a founder of Binance, one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world, CZ actually went to prison for 4 months over some money laundering charges in the United States. But he writes on December 20th, 2020, waiting for the news headline, Bitcoin crashes in air quotes from 101,000 to 85,000, saved the tweet. Dude literally called it. Called it 5 years ago. And this goes to something larger that Bilal was talking about. And actually, some inside baseball. Even before this call, Bilal was like, do we really want to talk about crypto? It's like, this happens like a million times every cycle, right?
Well, I was going to say, this is the updated version, Trung, real quick. You're right. Yeah, this happens all the time. And also, this is what he posted today. He tweeted the 2020, and he says, waiting for the new headline, Bitcoin crashes in air quotes from 1 million, whatever, to 985,000. Save the tweet, right? So
not investment advice.
No investment advice, but no, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like when you're, I will say, pretty crazy, like the way he actually said 100 to 85, because that's close to the high of this.
That's
current
what he
cycle.
called it. Yeah.
And it also, I mean, it's kind of interesting because 100,000. When I've asked people throughout the years, like, where would you think this is going to? Where's a good area to consider selling? Like people that know more, like if you're ever selling. And I think just 100,000 was always just a clean number, right? Like that. Same with 1 million. So, but yeah. Anyway,
we actually talked about it here. I think
that.
Jack brought it up, and obviously at this point people don't realize Jack isn't here. But yeah, he's not here this week. But the point with what Jack was saying is like 100,000. That number, right? The psychology of that number is just it's insane, right? And because you see that number on a CNBC headline, let's say you're a total normie like Trump fan 3 years ago, you're like, oh, 100,000.
Fiat fan.
Yeah, Fiat fan.
It sounded crazy. Yeah, definitely.
It sounded crazy. But let's talk about Bybit quickly. And so people are attributing this kind of sell-off to a couple factors. I think, Bilal, you mentioned the macro environment with these tariffs that it looks like are going to, the Trump administration will go forward with. I know they paused the Canadian and Mexican tariffs that we talked about, but unless things are fully resolved, they're going to go forward. A raft of new announcements. At this point, you know, it's Matthew McConaughey from Wolf of Wall Street, right? Like nobody knows. But there's clearly a sell-off here in Bitcoin. It literally could just mean nothing. But this Bybit hack last week is quite notable because largest crypto hack ever, 1.5 billion. Majority of that is different Ethereum products. And it brings up, I'd say there's two interesting points about it. The first point, which, you know, again, just to protect my crypto bags, not investment advice. A lot of people are like, oh, wow, this massive hack that was conducted by a hacking group from North Korea. So people don't know, there's a group called Lazarus Group in North Korea. North Korea is probably the world's preeminent like a cybersecurity hacker. Them and the Russians and the Chinese. And listen, we're being honest, America too, right? But America has less need to. America has less need to like steal. You know, 1.5 billion.
You're like, wait a minute,
we're being
actually.
honest. It's like, yo, let's be honest here.
It's
but
like
America
the
has a
world's
lot
biggest
less
army, you know, world's biggest threat to you know, world peace. But then also, actually, we got a few military bases.
But let's just say that America has less need for 1.5 billion Ethereum than North Korea does, right? Like this is how North Korea is funding its army. It's got this insane hacker group. I don't even remember, blah. I think we talked about it. The Wall Street Journal last year had an article about how North Koreans were applying to jobs like listings on Glassdoor for tech companies in the Bay Area just so they could like burrow into the systems, and like they hid themselves, right? But people basically figured out that they were like you get on a Zoom interview and like they'd be blank screen and like their English was so bad, and then you start asking them questions, and then like 3 questions in you realize they're from North Korea. But that was happening.
Something's
for a
a
while.
giveaway there,
Yeah, something's a giveaway. Yeah, you asked them about Succession, right? And they're like, "What's that?" Yeah,
that's the filter.
That's the filter.
When you said that, I thought of what was that Joe Rogan episode with the quite short lady who came from there?
Oh yeah, that famous.
She wrote a book,
memes?
which I don't know even if it was true in the end. I feel like apparently it was quite exaggerated. But when she was talking about eating rats for breakfast and stuff like that. Anyway, yeah, it's just I get what you're saying. So anyway, so that was is that confirmed? They were the ones.
No, but here's the
behind
key.
the hack.
This is it was confirmed based on the 3 in Twitter threads I saw. that was the confirmation. But the point is this: it wasn't what you think, where the exchange or Ethereum itself, the chain, was hacked. They just did good old fashioned social engineering. Right? They did it the way that I've almost clicked on like these phishing emails. They basically had people do the proper way to sign over to a cold wallet. It was a cold wallet attack. That's what people are scared about. They're like, oh, wow, did they crack the cold wallet? Well, no, not really. They basically sent an email to the account holders that made it look like it was official and gave them access to the cold wallets. So Bilal, can you explain the difference between cold and hot wallet here?
Yeah, I don't know as it relates to Bybit, but basically there's so there's cold storage. It's like you're essentially not hosting it anywhere digitally. It's like it could be a piece of paper, it could be a device that's offline, it stores it offline, and you completely own the 2 parts of the keys, like the private and public part of it. Whereas the hot wallet, I assume what you're describing here is just more like the login, like you're saying basically like like the Coinbase equivalent, like you're logging into that wallet?
Yeah,
Is
like
that what you mean?
cold storage, as you described it, is kind of we make the running joke, kettlebells around here. We're not gonna say what that refers to. If you're an OG, hot wallet, or hot in general it's on the exchanges itself, right? So this actually, people were concerned this is a cold wallet attack, but it was done via social engineering. Which is just like literally
just like a standard. You're getting that text,
Yeah,
like
you're
log
getting that
into your
text.
Coinbase. So, I mean, I will say there were some really sophisticated ones recently. In the UK, I heard a few friends that are quite savvy. They were getting like phone calls. That social engineering, which people should still be really careful about.
No, dude, honestly, be careful, right? It's a
real person. It's not even like an AI. It's like a real person. They're telling you stuff that is about you. So you're like, oh, wait a minute, they must have this on a screen somewhere. But yeah, really kind of scary, yeah. But anyway,
Bilal, let me, I want to bring something up because I think, now this is what we do at NIA. We go down rabbit holes. But are you familiar with the pig butchering scams? Are you familiar with
butchering scams?
Yeah.
No, what's that?
Let me explain it, because I mean, this is actually something very worth for listeners to listen about, because I'm pretty sure everybody's experienced it. Have you ever received a text that says, "Hi, how are you doing?" "Hi, it's Jane." Have you ever got random text like that?
Yeah, always. Yeah, probably.
You must get it all
today.
the time. Yeah. No, but seriously, right? It's called a pig butchering scam. And what happens? You remember the Nigerian scam would send you this crazy email from a Nigerian prince, right? But the whole point is 99.9% of people will sniff that out immediately, or it will get caught in the spam filters for Gmail, right? But the whole point with these type of scams is you don't care about the 99.9%. You care about the 0.1%.
Yeah, you make
that
it
looks
back
at the,
from the...
that looks at the Comic Sans font and still thinks it's legit, right? No, but literally, like, these emails...
They're like, "Hi, Jane." Oh, yeah, I've never met Jane, and I haven't left my house for 3 weeks, but maybe I met Jane in my dream or something.
No, but the whole point is you make it so absurd, knowing that the only people that are going to answer are gullible enough to go ahead with it, right? So what pig butchering is you get those type of messages, right? You start responding. Again, some people will respond so much, they'll form relationships with what seem to be a stranger. And then that stranger will fatten the pig up by chatting with them over months. Typically, it's done by fake romantic relationships, but this is done through WhatsApp, Telegram, SMS. Yeah, dude, check your phones. I guarantee you, your listeners right now, check your phones. In the last week, you will have received a random text that says, "Hi." And these are the ways. And the reason it's called pig butchering is because once you fatten up the pig, which is the mark, the target, you basically ask them to send you money. And the reason I bring this up is I know for a fact that every single person listening to this has experienced those text messages. Hopefully none of you have gone down that route. But the reason I say that too is The Economist had a cover story about pig butchering scams. It's been kind of bubbling up for a number of years now. But Bilal, I'm going to hit you the number. Pig butchering in 2024 brought in $500 billion. It's as large as a narcotics trade.
That's
yes,
wild.
Dude. It's
500
insane.
billion.
And
I have watched some
reasons.
YouTube videos of some of these people
bro.
on.
It is insane.
Maybe like Vice
dude.
did a few of these.
No.
Where they're interviewing with like a balaclava on their head or what, so you can't see their face. But they're fully explaining how it works. It's always very interesting because he says exactly what you said there. He said, "Oh, obviously most people don't respond, but it just takes one person and they're taking them to the cleaners," as they say.
Well, there's a really famous case happening right now in the United States. I think it's still being resolved. But there was he was like a parishioner in a community, also ran like a local bank, but he got pig butchered for over $50 million. It was insane, bro. And I can't even find this thing. People just Google pig butchering $50 million. You'll find this US case. But actually, Bilal, can you Google that while I explain why this thing's crazy? So a lot of
say it again. What do you want to check?
$50 million pig butchering scam, Bank America.
Yeah.
Just Google that. So sorry for making you Jamie from the Rogan podcast, but I want to keep talking through this. The pig butchering has gotten so bad. The ground zero for it is in Southeast Asia. So there are people that don't know about Myanmar, formerly Burma, it's kind of a fully failed state right now. and it borders China. A lot of Chinese triads and gangsters, mafia, are using the borderlands between Myanmar and China. Also using a lot of Cambodia. Cambodia has basically just become a Chinese client state, and they use compounds in the borders. So Cambodia's borders with Thailand, so they use compounds there where they basically abduct like Thai citizens, abduct Chinese tourists, and they put them into compounds, and it's essentially slave labor where you're on a computer 12 hours a day, pig butchering people. And here it is, right? Apparent pig butcher. So for the listeners, actually, I'm not going to throw it up on the screen, but a Kansas bank.
That's the one you were sharing. Yeah, I just shared a link for people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
After the CEO allegedly embezzled nearly $50 million, he's pig butchered. And now he's going to go to jail for 30 years. This is an absolutely insane story. So the bank was called the Heartland Tri-State Bank. The CEO's name was Shan Haynes. Got pig butchered. But yeah, dude, I'm actually kind of glad we went down this rabbit hole. It's a topic we never touched on, but people, be very wary of these highs. Now you know why they're happening. There are tens of thousands of Southeast Asians, also happens in parts of Africa and Middle East, just sitting on your laptops all day, like sending messages with scripts, trying to get people into these pig butchering scams. And unfortunately, like any type of technology, I think AI is not really helping this cause because it's helping people form scripts, right? Like non-native English speakers to communicate, and any language really, because it doesn't just have to be English. And no, I think this ties back to the Bybit hack with just the idea of, social engineering still 101 it's causing hundreds of billions of dollars in like criminal activity. And that's okay. Let's just settle that. We'll put a pin on that. The other part is what Bilal mentioned, why Bitcoin might be down, but Bitcoin's always down, up and down. Who cares? Is this macro environment? I don't have anything else to say. I
was going to say, just to give just a couple counterpoints to the kind of CZ, like his kind of bullish tweet, essentially saying, look, I predicted this before, it's going all the way. I do want to share two. One from Ansem, which I shared with you there. 1 second. This is from Ansem, who's obviously a big trader. And I do think it's interesting because I don't actually personally believe this, but it's when I'm looking at trying to think through what is happening in these scenarios, I think it is worth like trying to think through both of these scenarios. So it's very common for things to go up and down. I also would really separate Bitcoin with the rest of the coins this time around because it's very different to the last few cycles. So 2017, 2021, obviously we covered 2021 on this podcast every week, and we saw the crazy jump right all the way up to 69K for Bitcoin. But the key thing there was we had so many other bullish things happening in the industry. So if you think of DeFi summer, obviously NFTs, whatever you think of all these things, if you think they were just basically Ponzi schemes or not, whatever, there was actually, real DeFi stuff happening, like billions of dollars being locked in these DeFi platforms. Stable coins really emerged. And I will say now, stable coins, I'm as bullish on stable coins as a technology now than ever before. But the question, does that actually accrue value to, say, Ethereum or something like that? Probably, I don't know if that is the case. And so that's why this time around, the kind of sentiment has been quite negative, even in an environment where things have gone up quite significantly. And I think it's because lots of people were just expecting it to act like the last few cycles, and it's been very different. We saw Ripple, kind of what people call dino coins, really pump because of retail. People were like, oh, it's going to 100K, but that's too much for me. I'm going to buy the thing that looks like $2. That they're going to buy that instead. So this is from Ansem, who was obviously, he's a trader guy who is kind of like Mr. Meme Coin, right? Like he was the main guy on X talking about pumping a lot of stuff. He's a guy that was trying to put whiff on the sphere as well. Dog whiff hat, So that's a whole different thing. I love how
Bilal's being dead serious, explaining it, then he has to say something. He tried to put the whiff on the Las Vegas sphere.
Yeah, put the dog, tried to put the hat on the sphere, which I don't think is happening.
All right, so read out what he said.
So someone said, Mike Duda said, why do I have to wait years at a time before Bitcoin does the thing I know it's going to do, e.g. 250K and beyond? Can't we just get over with quickly? Obviously, kind of a bit of a joke, but answer and responds because maybe Bitcoin was just a decade-long supercycle bubble of speculative crypto coins as a siren for the market top of the multi-decade everything bubble as the final means of wealth transfer out of the fiat currencies before the end of several decades of long global debt cycle. I'm also going to pull up actual friend of the pod, Tom, who's been on the show. You're seeing Tom's tweet here, yeah?
Yeah, hit it.
So he said, what if Trump and Libra marked the top of this cycle, now is down only, followed by MicroStrategy turbo liquidation will delete it from Bitcoin to 1 million at some point, ETH to 4K, which is a perfect, which is funny.
Yeah, no. Okay, well, let me explain to listeners. Okay, no, there's a lot to unpack here. Can you pull that tweet up again? So the other part, Tom's. So the other part of the recent Bitcoin sell-off that we didn't talk about was, the meme coin madness that we have been covering for the last 6 weeks, right? There was the Trump's meme coin, Javier Malay's meme coin, and every other meme coin in between. Hawk Tua girl, Portnoy's jail stool meme coin. Kanye was talking about dropping a meme coin.
On the screen here. These are all the things that happened,
yo,
by the way.
This out. This is
I don't even want to read all of these.
Okay, I'm going to read it. Okay, so wait, sure. Okay.
You'll see why I don't want to read in a second. Go for it.
Anyways, yeah. I mean, if people read it, you know what? I'm not going to read it. People go look for yourself, all right?
No, we can say, look, crypto 2025 so far. Trump launches shitcoin. Melania launches unrelated shitcoin day after. Ledger, the company Ledger's co-founder kidnapped along with his wife and fingers cut off. Yeah, that was terrible. Africa, a country in Africa launches a shitcoin. Argentina launches crime coin. Obviously, we covered that last week.
Yeah.
And then this is where it starts getting a little unnecessary.
Cartoon-looking MF says control that.
The guy Hayden, who we talked about.
Kanye talks about Cardano BCS and launching his own coin. Largest hack in crypto history, Bybit. We just talked about it. Dave Portnoy launches several scam coins and buys jail coin inside. CZ talks about his dog. Vitalik, Tully, and Raj get canceled for random silly tweets. I didn't even know about that. Dude.
Well, he was basically saying
somebody killed himself yesterday to launch a meme coin. I don't know. I didn't follow up on that. I don't know if it's back. If that was some type of stunt. But SBF came back. Dude, Bilal's laughing.
I'm laughing at some of these are ridiculous.
Yeah. But yeah,
and it says February's not even over, which is true. All right.
Okay. So
and then the last one I'm going to say is last one. Sorry, because I do want to finish on the pod. This guy Bob Lucas. If you guys haven't followed his 4-year cycle videos on YouTube, 100% worth watching. And I will say I do look at his stuff for projections, and this is this guy's a OG in this world. So it's just a bit more of a bullish tweet around this. Seems like more of a normal drawdown. So anyway, that was just giving a little bit of context on both sides because our take on this is like you can't predict these things. This goes up and down. Most of this is gambling, in my opinion, still, even though I've been heavily involved with it myself, or speculation.
Well, you're just being honest, bro.
Yeah, I mean, no, everything to me, it's interesting seeing the arc of all of this. 2021, we had Michael Saylor on, the biggest Bitcoin maxi. I was the one who asked him about ETH, remember, right?
Yeah.
And I was asking him, like, what, this is where the innovation is happening. And like, I think I was right for asking those questions because I think that's a valid point. But also, he was really right around actual what's happened
he's like,
since then.
Bitcoin is it, right? He's like, everything else is like, he's saying, basically said the word integrity he brought up, right? And people, I mean, what do you want to bring up? What's MicroStrategy now? We talked about MicroStrategy 3 months ago.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
It's down about 50% from its highs because even though Bitcoin's down whatever 20%, it's down 50, 60%.
It's down almost 30% this month.
Yeah.
And it was at 473. It's at 250 now. So it's almost half.
Yeah. Wild. But we don't want to get into the day-by-day speculation. We just want to talk based on that last tweet that Bilal spoke about, which I didn't even know that he had teed up. There's a lot going on, and it's clearly newsworthy. And listen,
it was the stuff I didn't want to read out. That was the funny part.
You know what's funny? Yeah. Here's my big takeaway. You could be the most serious commentator on crypto in the world, and then you're gonna have to say at one point the guy that tried to put whiff on the Las Vegas sphere.
Yeah, tried to put the dog with hat.
No, but it goes back to
with a straight face.
But talk about the larger point you're trying to make was that the reply you talked about, the multi-decade, century-long debt cycles, is like there's a lot like the
that's
macro
actually an interesting point.
Yeah, That's the whole
Because
point.
if
Is
I'm
like,
honest, I'll just be honest with my own position on that. We've talked about this for ages about, is this digital gold, all that sort of stuff. We still have no real evidence for that, except for like people talking about it. Like anytime there's high inflation, like people or like when there's uncertainty.
I'm gonna disagree with Bilal here. I'm actually. I know what you're saying is like the initial reaction makes it look like it's not the hedge that it was expected to be, right? Like
I hope it is, but yeah.
No, but let's talk through this. Hold on, let me try to convince you otherwise. So you're saying that there's the idea that's digital gold. Okay, so during the inflationary environment, why was it that it got clapped? During at the beginning of COVID, why was it that it got traded down to 5,000?
Yeah.
No, but
to clarify, what I'm saying is, I think it really just acts like Nasdaq on steroids.
Yeah,
so
Nasdaq
on the
times
risk curve,
1.5, right?
Exactly.
NASDAQ
So
too.
on the risk curve, it's a high risk, high reward. It's more like a technology stock, the way it acts. And when we have cheap money, things go up. Obviously, there are some parts where that hasn't been the case. Like interest rates did go up, but it's more about liquidity and this. Where's the money going to go? Right? Like
no, I think to answer your question, I actually liked your framing because a lot of people do see it as a technology times 2, like a levered, basically like a type of levered Nasdaq, essentially. Even though we're not talking about levered in the traditional sense, but you're getting 2x.
Yeah, like it goes higher down. Up on the high and lower on the low, basically.
Yeah. Well, the way they saw is like, what is the beta? It's like 2 or 3 times, right?
Exactly.
And but blah. What I would say is this, and to address your point directly is, just look at the thing is you got to zoom out, right? I think this is a larger point. It's absorbed so much, right? Even though it acts not necessarily in concert, but you're right. In recent years, it kind of gone up and down with the money flows the same way a lot of high growth tech stocks have, and even obviously big tech. But at the end of the day, it keeps on, like whatever the cycle is, the movement, the next level up keeps happening, right?
I agree.
It's gone
I
from
guess
20 to 50, 70 to 100.
I know,
so we're
and
gonna go through the same.
I agree
now.
with that. I think my point, Trung, is if we were at the end of an 80-year cycle, right? Like that's what I'm talking about. If we're on the Ray Dalio curve, like that's what I'm talking about.
Well, what I would say is it'd be exponential takeoff. That would be the argument, right? Is like
that's it, and that's kind of to get to $1 million. It might be something like that in over a 5-10 year period or whatever. And so I'm not betting against it. Like my portfolio says otherwise, right? Like I basically
I
never
understand.
sold
I know what you're
of,
saying
of
though.
that. But my point is, I'm also to hedge my bets. I'm also kind of pro gold as well because. And I think you can do both because the point is, what is China doing? When people get scared, they buy gold as well. So that's kind of my point is, it's not like I'm not a maxi about any of these things. That's kind of my point. And I do have a 5% chance in my head of like, oh, this could be an 80-year cycle changing, right? Like where we actually are doing unprecedented things. There's, it's the first time, whatever you think of Doge, it's the first time anyone's talked about it for a while around like actually cutting some government spend, right? And that's a whole another episode, but just the idea of actually cutting some things, that's not really. I mean, I think Clinton did actually have it. Obama had some.
No, but this is much more like again to your point. Whether or not it happened, the fact that it's the visibility of the conversation, it does matter, right? Because now if you are investing,
because the debt's so high, like we
insane,
need to do
dude.
something.
It's insane.
Yeah, and so that anyway, that's a whole bigger thing. I will say the Ray Dalio, I did re-listen to his like 30-40 minute video. Like it's a summary of the book.
Oh, like the deleveraging, like the whole debt cycle. Yeah,
it's kind of a nice history, honestly, just for knowing how economies work and stuff as well. I just like to think about like, well, could that be a possibility? If that's the case, how would I be positioned essentially? So that's kind of it. So anyway, very
investment
interesting
advice
discussion. Yeah. All right. Should we move on? That was definitely
let's go
worth
to Murdoch.
talking about.
Let's talk about the Murdoch.
All right, let's talk about Murdoch, and then we'll get to the question. In fact, should I ask? No, we'll ask the question after. Let's start with the Murdoch family. What's going on this side, Trung?
Bilal, you're a Succession fan. Who's your favorite of the children?
I was gonna say cousin Greg, but not. He's not the child. He's the cousin. So
he's a cousin. He's cousin Greg.
I mean, obviously, what's his name? Macaulay Culkin's brother.
Roman. Yeah, Kieran Culkin.
Roman's. I mean, they're all amazing in their own ways, but Roman is funny, and cousin Greg by far is my favorite character, though.
Oh, he's incredible. Him and Tom, the bromance.
Yeah.
Well,
What were they
actually, let me
called?
let-
What were they called? I forgot what it was called.
the dirty,
The dirty
was it the
brothers or
nasty
something?
boys, the
No.
disgusting
Someone's
brothers.
in the comments right now,
Yeah.
like we're saying it completely wrong.
I think it
but
was
yeah.
the disgusting brothers.
There you go.
But hold on, blah. Let me. Are you familiar with the connection between Succession and the Murdoch family, Rupert Murdoch and his children?
Yeah, just loosely that it was kind of based on them and another family. You said, right?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, when I watched it, I assumed it was about Murdoch because he's the media mogul of our time.
Mogul, yeah, Logan Roy, influencing elections in Australia, the UK, and North America, which is what Rupert Murdoch has done. The difference with Logan Roy is obviously, I think, from Scotland in the show. Rupert Murdoch is from Australia. And I mean, I'll just walk through the family history, but the punchline here is the Murdoch family in the past 2 years has gone through a very messy legal battle that literally straight out of the show. They have so Murdoch has 4 older children: Prudence, Elizabeth, James, and Lachlan. Okay,
Is Prudence a common name?
I think it was in the olden time.
Back in the day. All right.
In the 50s, 60s. I think in the Commonwealth countries that it was a pretty normal name in the 50s, 60s to give your child. But the point I'm trying to make is, so he has 4 older children. He has 2 younger children with Wendy Dang, but they're not necessarily related to the story. When I say 4 children, blah, are you hearing? Is it ringing your bells with Succession? How many children are there in Succession? There's Connor, Kendall, Roman,
it's 3, no?
and Shiv. Exactly.
Oh yeah.
The difference was
it's 4 with there's like a half brother.
Connor. So Connor plays the same. Connor Roy in The Social Succession plays the same role as Prudence Murdoch in real life. Prudence has never been a serious contender for Succession. She was from the first marriage that Rupert Murdoch had. So Rupert Murdoch, little background, from Australia. His father, I believe his father's name was either Ken or Kevin Murdoch, a very well-known newspaperman in Australia, wrote about the World War One, Gallipoli, which was a big disaster for Churchill and the UK and the British in World War One. Wrote about that for Australia. A lot of Australians died in that battle, and became a newspaperman. Died and left Rupert Murdoch 2 newspapers as his inheritance. Imagine getting 2 newspapers as an inheritance, bro. It's like,
that's
here
mad.
you go. Here are 2 newspapers. So that's how Rupert built his media. I mean, started in Australia, moved out to the UK, and then went into the United States. Famously, with Fox TV network, he launched the first big national broadcaster aside from ABC, CBS, and NBC. And actually, here's a little inside baseball and business strategy. He basically, the key way he did that to build the brand up was by getting overpaying for football rights. Kind of genius. Overpaid for NFL rights, and Fox turned into a major player in broadcast television in the United States. Obviously, in the UK, well, you know Sky, right? Sky,
Yeah.
Sky News.
Yeah,
What is the
Sky.
reputation of Sky and Sky News?
I think Sky, I mean, it's always been, for me growing up, it was always like the only place you could watch like Premier League for most of my time growing up. And then later they had like 2 or 3 others like BT Sport, Setanta for a while. There was one, and there was a couple others that were smaller. I forgot what it is now. There's like a second one that people actually
What's its
use, but
reputation versus
it's not that bad.
BBC?
It's not like it's okay. It's kind of like the mainstream establishment.
Oh, it's not like
sports
conservative media. It's not.
Oh, well, you're talking about Sky, like the Sky News. You're right.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I didn't think of it necessarily as that because it was also like the network. Like you would buy like Sky TV, and it would have Sky News. Just like if you got Verizon. Like I pay for Verizon internet, and if my internet or my TV,
I see what you're saying. It's a broadband. Probably does cable also. Yeah.
Exactly. So it would be like me having Verizon TV news or something. Like
Okay.
But maybe nowadays I don't watch
Comcast
it.
NBC
like
is comparable because Comcast does cable and also owns NBC, right? That's comparable.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'd say is that on the news side though, outside of TV channels, like The Sun, for example, is probably a little bit more right wing, I assume. It's kind of like just the standard tabloid.
Well, they also own News of the World, right? Which famously had the phone hacking scandal, which for Succession fans is
Piers
where
Morgan,
the cruise scandal. Remember the cruise scandal in Succession? That's where cousin Greg went to.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the testimony? He's like, what was the line he had? I mean, if Rafa can play the line that cousin Greg had, it's something along the lines of, if you had it, Will is like, are you done talking? It's like, you know what? You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember it. Yeah.
Yes, if it is to be said.
I'm sorry.
If it is to be said, so it is.
Are you all right?
Yes. I merely wish to answer in the affirmative fashion.
Okay, so a lot of parallels between the show, but I want to get to the meaty part, which is the trust. You remember in the show Succession, a big part of the some spoiler alerts here, but a big part of the transference of power, Logan had to pick one of the dude. You're pulling up the line from Greg, aren't you?
Yeah, you can see my face, right?
Yeah.
Wait, was it if it is to be said, so it be, so it is? That one?
Yeah, that's it. Okay. So,
yeah, what a legend.
So the listeners are losing it, but like let me.
You can see my face reading it, right?
You're laughing. So if you're listening, just pull it up. The Bilal's face was looking real suspicious, but no, so the Murdochs, they got the first of all, go back. Prudence was not to be one of the successors, right? So Murdoch's second wife, Anna, had 3 children. That's the main players here: Liz, Lachlan, and James. So Elizabeth Murdoch created Shine Group. She kind of built her business outside the family, similar to Siobhan Roy, who was also the female character in Succession. You definitely know Shine Group because they're out of the UK. They did The Biggest Loser, Master Chef. So they did some banger reality shows. And then News Corp, which is Murdoch. So right now Murdoch's empire is News Corp and Fox. News Corp owns things like The Australian, Wall Street Journal, and Harper's Collins, the massive publisher. So News Corp acquired Liz's company. James Murdoch, which is kind of the Kendall-ish character, but it's not one for one. He started his career with Raucous Records. You remember Raucous Records, bro? Most
remember
Def,
the name, yeah.
Talib Kweli.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude. James Murdoch funded Raucous Records, and Rupert made a majority investment in that. So basically, the idea is that the 3 kids from Murdoch's second marriage, Liz, James, and Lachlan, were all kind of business minded, right? And but here's the key. This is the key point that is 25 years in the making, which is extremely interesting. Rupert Murdoch divorced his second wife, Anna, in 1999. Anna had rights to half of the marriage assets, but she saw what Rupert was doing with Lachlan, James, and Liz. Basically, he was pitting them against each other to see who would be his heir, like straight out of the show, right?
Straight out of the show, yeah.
Yeah, straight out of the show. And she did not like that. I mean, it's straight up manipulation, like psychological warfare in your children. So Anna says, I will give up my half of the divorce assets, but in exchange, I want you to create an inviolable trust. So this trust cannot be changed. Irrevocable trust that will split the assets evenly amongst, and this time, 4 children, right? And then in the future, any children you have, the trust will be split amongst them. I don't want you playing these games where you're going to make them favor trade to see who gets everything from you, right? Which is like, frankly, kind of messed up, but the whole point of the show. And so she did that exchange and they made the trust. And that trust became the source material for a Succession. So fast forward to 2023. James Murdoch, after a long career at Fox, he had the blow up in the phone hacking scandal. He took the brunt of the blame for the phone hacking scandal. James Murdoch did. And his brother, Lachlan, had gone back to Australia. So now I'm actually talking through the 2010s. And James thought that he deserved the main top spot because he had spent over a decade with Fox and News Corp. Lachlan had left the family business and moved to Australia. However, Lachlan is much more conservative. Lachlan is much more politically aligned with his father, Rupert. James is much more left-leaning. His wife is much more left-leaning. James is on the board of Tesla. So this was when he joined, when it was like clean energy was the main message, right? Like obviously not since Elon got super involved in politics, but like James Murdoch was like the left-leaning clean energy guy. And so he had a lot of problems with his brother and his dad, and they all started working together around the mid-2010s 2016, Bilal, what happened in 2016? What were the two political earthquakes of 2016?
Well, Trump, you mean, yeah?
Yeah, Trump, and then what about the
And
UK? What happened in
with Brexit, right?
Yeah, Brexit vote.
Was that 2016 as well, or 15
yeah,
or something?
bro.
Yeah,
2016.
Damn,
So
that was a big year.
James had a falling out, political falling out. It came to a head in 2016 with his
Damn, yeah,
family.
June 2016, yeah.
Yeah, bro. So Fox News obviously has been
I think I
known as a
blocked it out,
conservative.
man.
You blocked it out, right?
Yeah.
So
a long time
Fox
ago.
was a conservative paper from the very beginning. Fox helped Fox helped Reagan win certain districts during the 80s in his elections. Like Rupert Murdoch developed a relationship with Ronald Reagan. So Rupert Murdoch became kind of a kingmaker for conservatives, right? In America and in the UK and Australia. And 2016, Brexit happens, Trump happens. James is like, I don't want to necessarily be involved with this family business anymore. I don't agree with the direction of it. So there's an opportunity to break through. And here, this storyline, it's gonna hit a light bulb for you. Who tried to acquire Waystar Royco in succession? What was the big deal?
Like the Nordic guys, no?
Yeah.
I forgot the name of the
Gojo
company.
Matson from Gojo.
Yeah. yeah. Okay, he was like
You
a tech.
wanna know-
No, but they were like tech
He's
people,
a tech
no?
guy, yes, tech streaming.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what the equivalent was in real life?
Yeah, what was it here?
Disney. Disney
Oh, right.
acquired 21st Century Fox in 2018
course.
for $71 billion. So do you know who led that negotiation? James' negotiation with Bob Iger.
Got it.
And basically the reason that Rupert Murdoch wanted to sell 21st Century Fox, which is the majority of his empire. So today, News Corp and Fox make up about $40 billion. Disney bought Fox, 21st Century Fox TV studio. So, made Avatar, the film, TV shows, The Simpsons, own Nat Geo. That's why when you go to Disney Plus, you see all those assets now. $71 billion. And James kind of led negotiations on that and actually got Disney. People think now that Disney pretty much overpaid by about $20 billion. $70 billion is a lot, man, for that studio. But the larger point with James and that was his way out of the company. Like and Rupert Murdoch agreed to sell 21st Century Fox because he's a newspaper guy. That's how he started. That's what he wanted, and he realized that there's no point in building their own streaming service, right? They're gonna get they couldn't compete with Netflix, Amazon, and Apple. That's how they kind of looked at it. And then now we're seeing with every other like Paramount, Time Warner. These are all sub-level streamers. They don't have the secondary revenue stream of an Apple or an Amazon to support it, and they don't have the pure scale of a Netflix. So that's all in a lead up to James is kind of out of the family business. Rupert sold the biggest chunk of his business, but still has this news and influential TV operation, right? Fox News Corp, and that's what he's sitting on right now. So I said fast forward 2023, so let me get there now. Remember the trust. Bilal, what was the trust? Everybody had equal portions, right?
Yeah.
That was the agreement. Not just financial, they also had equal voting rights. If Rupert died, they would have the same amount of board seats for News Corp and Fox to decide the direction of that company. However, Lachlan, who is now the CEO of Fox, the oldest brother, is much more conservative than James. Rupert was concerned that James Murdoch would team up with his sisters to take over the company, essentially. And
because Murdoch himself, like Rupert Murdoch, is I'm assuming more right wing, right?
Very right wing, yeah, much more conservative.
Yeah.
And he believed that. He thinks about it this way. I mean, he's conservative. He thinks conservative values are the most important, right?
Yeah.
And he's extremely concerned that his legacy would turn into more left leaning. So he basically sued in Nevada. He had to go to courts in Nevada to have the trust changed because it's irrevocable, right? That was the agreement with the wife in 1999. You cannot change this trust.
Oh, and because they got
tried to change
divorced
it.
as well.
Yeah,
So
with
it's
the
not like you can
trade-off.
just adjust or create a new one because that's a whole thing as well.
Literally, she made an irrevocable trust. She's like, I will give up my half of the divorce assets, but you have to give me this. So they tried to change the trust. Nevada has really flexible trust and inheritance tax laws. So a lot of family trusts are done in Nevada. TLDR, they tried to get it changed. The courts told them no. And that's the succession storyline right there. So that's why it's in the news. That's why I wanted to say the story.
No, I said that's great. And while you were saying all that, I was looking at all the brands because you mentioned some of them, and you forget how many they got. I mean, because the guy I go to Arsenal games with, actually, he's a good old friend of mine. He's like head of tax for them in Europe. So he was telling me in the car, because we were listening to, I think, Talk Sport, which is like the radio show, call-in show that people have. I'm pretty sure they own them as well, or they did at some point. I don't know if they spun it out. But they're kind of like the call-in show after the game where everyone's it's just rage bait.
Sky.
Yeah, well, it's called TalkSport. I don't think it's Sky. I think it's like rolls up into the News Corp people. But anyway, I remember being in the car with him and he put it on. And I'm like, man, I can't listen to this because he just pissed. It's like, rage baiting. It's literally, it's like trying to create a fight sort of vibe.
Skip Bayless, Stephen A, right? It's like that.
Exactly. And after a game, like you want good vibes, So then I was showing him, like, I've got the Patreon ready for the Arsenal specific show stream live. So anyway, Dow Jones owns Wall Street Journal, Market Watch, Barron's, all of these guys. HarperCollins Publishers, obviously. Massive.
Well, for people that don't know, you mentioned Dow Jones. So here's a little fan service for the listeners. If you're a Succession fan, when the Roy family tried to acquire the Pierce newspaper empire, I don't know if you remember that. But that was the Wall Street Journal deal. Because the Wall Street Journal is a 100-plus-year-old paper. Dow Jones is owned by the Bancroft family, and they kind of hated Rupert Murdoch, but they sold for $5 billion. And then the last thing I'll add is Volter. Remember, Kendall tried to acquire Volter. Volter is MySpace.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, News Corp invested $500 million into MySpace in 2006.
No, we might need to go and watch the whole show again.
I know, bro. That's what I'm saying. So for the
now
listeners,
that we know it's like finished, you can just relax and know what's going on.
But Bilal, I know that we're getting a little bit tight here, but keep listing those names off, and I'll add one prediction of what's going to happen.
Yeah, the rest, I think you mentioned most of them, like the Australian Herald Sun, Daily Telegraph, and then the UK, these are big. The Times, Sunday Times, The Sun. I mean, that's basically all of the press, right? Like, it's crazy. Foxtel, there's a bunch here as well. Man, it keeps going. New York Post.
It's crazy, right? The Post, 6. The oldest paper, I think, in America.
Wow. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. But yeah, really crazy. But
so
what
let me make a prediction before we get to the question from Olivia Reingold, Free Press writer from the Free Press, friend of the pod. But let me just throw this out there. Here's my prediction. So now that Rupert Murdoch has been unable to change the trust, right? I'm going to throw some pieces out at you, and I'm going to tell me what you think. Fox, conservative mainstay in America, right? The number one conservative media, right? X has literally become a conservative, much more right-leaning.
Yeah, pretty much,
At a minimum, right? I mean, Elon's in an administration with Trump, right? It's not, that's 100%. A pretty simple statement. So James Murdoch is on the board of Tesla.
And Blue Sky, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, there you go. It ain't Blue Sky. So, but I'm throwing some words out there. You tell me. I want you to come to the solution. James is on the board of Tesla. He and his brother disagree with the future of Fox. However, James is on the board of Tesla. He knows Elon. Has a working relationship with Elon, right? Linda Yaccarino, the current CEO of X, used to run a $13 billion ad budget at NBC Universal. Global head of partnerships and advertising. Are you seeing where I'm going with this? Who could acquire Fox and News Corp? What does Fox and News Corp offer to somebody that has a large LLM or XAI chatbot? I think in the next 5 years, there's a non-zero chance that a Fox and News Corp are acquired, not at their current price, but they'll be acquired by Elon and X, rolled up with XAI, as Jack predicted 18 months ago. It'll all go public for $200 billion. There's my prediction.
There you go. We'll clip it there. We're going to be looking back at that like the CZ tweet earlier there, Trunk. Trunk, how are you doing for time?
Let's do this.
Olivia's question?
Let's answer the first of Olivia's questions.
And then we can save the second one for next week. That's fine.
Because I want Jack for that one, actually, if possible.
So we do a local TV one, yeah?
Yeah, so read it out loud.
I'm just going to pull up. So this is from Olivia Reingold, friend of the pod, also,
friend
Jack's sister-in-law. Yeah, there we go. It's fine. I think it's fine. People know that. She's also a writer at the Free Press, right?
Press. Yeah.
She's incredible. So we make a joke that Trung is a lowercase j journalist. Olivia is a legit journalist. Like she's in the field.
She's legit. She's
going to the protests. I've seen some of the videos. Really great stuff.
Olivia does amazing work.
So her first question was, is local TV is local TV news dead forever? Or can you think of a way to revive it besides get on TikTok or a socials first approach? What can be done to turn the industry around? Thoughts, Trung?
How related is this kind of to our previous section? You like how we organized that, Bilal? That's all Bilal people.
There we go.
Yeah, so I mean, here's the we haven't talked about our boy Ben Thompson in a while, but why did local news work in the 90s? Why was it that Warren Buffett said local news is one of the greatest monopolies in the world? Because it was literally in the 90s when Berkshire Hathaway was scooping up newspapers left, right, and center. It was because newspapers in a region are a local monopoly on information distribution, right? You had to have the newspaper printer, the delivery vans, and the salespeople in that city to have your readers and your papers connected, right? It's a literal local monopoly. Internet obviously completely blew that away. There was no reason why these local monopolies the economics of the local monopolies no longer need to exist and couldn't exist. And that's why actually today, I think Olivia's larger question is, if you're looking at the New York Times is basically the only successful old paper that made the transition. And it's become a true national and international paper. And local ones, such as the LA Times, which is also owned by a billionaire, Li Shen, I forgot his name, but Xian Shung is his last name, biotech billionaire. And you could float these papers same way Washington Post is floated by Bezos, but can you actually make the economics work, which is, I think, what Olivia is getting to. And I mean, first of all, the Free Press is an example of a new media organization that it has not dependent on these old structures, right? It was built in the last 3 years by Barry Weiss, and I think it's almost at 1 million subscribers now, and I think 200,000 of them are paying subscribers. So what is that? 200,000 paying? It's a $10+ million a year revenue business, and that doesn't directly answer the local media aspect, but I think when I was thinking about this question, I think the local can actually survive now with the single creator. You can't have a local newspaper.
The cost just has to come down so much.
Exactly.
Basically.
You can't have a local newspaper like the ones that Berkshire owns. Like Berkshire owns, for example, one in Buffalo, right? That probably employs 150 people from editorial, running the buildings, running the prints and the cars. And that in the 90s made sense because you had a monopoly. Everybody in that region was subscribed to your paper, and then you'd have advertisers selling against the paper too. You had so many revenue streams that were it was a moat. I mean, you had the monopoly on it. However, to your point exactly, Bilal, today, I actually think it can work because we've come on the other side of the internet. Things like a Substack where a single person serving an entire community, it's very possible. I'll give you a very specific example. There is and this isn't necessarily a regional paper, but this model, I think, will end up being something that will be mimicked in every metropolitan area with a big enough a population size, call it 500,000 or whatever. So, A Bald-Faced Truth is a Substack by a writer named John Canzano. I think this guy makes $500,000 a year on subscriptions. He only has 42,000 subscribers. This is free and paid. To make
42,000.
Yeah,
and he makes how much? Sorry,
I think he makes $500,000 a year, which means he probably has 10,000 paid subscribers. Let me see
how much do they pay? Sorry, the maths in my head.
He is how much is he? Let me see how much this guy's charging. So this guy's charging. Okay, he charges a lot actually. Actually, no, he charges $90 a year.
A year, so, okay, that's
so 1 quarter.
$750 a month.
Yeah, so 1 quarter of his 40,000 subscribers. Just to give you an idea, I have over 60,000 subscribers for my newsletter.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're already more than that, yeah.
No, but the whole point is that I couldn't get 10,000 people to pay, right? But this guy can, because his topic is Pacific Northwest sports. That's all. Pacific Northwest sports. College. He does Pacific Northwest college sports, makes $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
You got to pick a region. Yeah, that's it. You got to pick a region.
You got a niche extra, basically.
Yeah. this is replicable. So the answer, local media, I think the future of local media will be one or two producers in a region that are large enough it sucks in a sense of, you'd have a business that could support 150 people. Now it's down to one or two, but that's just the nature of the internet. And so just a large point. I think it is possible. I don't think they're going away. The answer is whatever bald-faced truth is doing. There's going to be a lot more. I'm sure there are that I don't even know about, but that was the first example that came up.
That's great. And when I thought about this question, I was trying to be specific with what she said, because she said, is local TV news dead forever specifically? And so my head also went to kind of what you said there is, if we're literally talking about TV specifically, does that mean broadcast TV? Does that mean like your local TV channel on TV, like you need to have cable basically, or your local one? Or does she just mean like video specifically for local? Or does she mean broadly media, which is what you were describing? So my short answer to that is, if it is literally just the old model of broadcast TV, I think generally everything is pretty much dying, not just local news. It's pretty much everything apart from sports. But similar to you, I'm actually the opposite on hyper local media, so not necessarily just TV, but if you broaden out to like video or newsletters or writing specifically serving let's say even a hyper local community, not even like the whole of New York, but like where I live in Brooklyn or downtown Manhattan or Upper West Side, like that specific region. And literally I'm seeing examples of this. The example I wrote was sports as well, but also like roundups of like things going on locally for community people, for in the community, talking about the local stuff. And my big idea about this is like, as we get more AI slop and more content essentially, and more fake news and more fake everything, fake content, anything real is the scarce resource. So whether that is local real things happening, that stands out. And also like real life events. So that's why I think sports is actually an interesting area, not just locally, but on a higher level. If you speak to a lot of rich people who are trying to park their money in places, one of the things I've heard a few of them say is sports is one of those things, even in recession or as there's more AI and there's more people disconnecting from seeing people, is one of the few things you do is you go and see something in person, or you watch something live, you go to the bar, you go to the pub, whatever. And there's this camaraderie, this fandom that you can't replicate for many other things. And so that's kind of my other thing is anything like in real life, like concerts is another example of music, live music. So that's kind of like an overarching theme, like anything that is scarce.
I like that.
Yeah, archery.
No, dude. Well, let me comment on what you said though. I didn't think about that local part that you brought up, which is so true. It's like so clearly the other side of this. So it's a running theme that we've had in previous episodes over the past years. The IRL, the in real life, is just going to matter so much more, right? And I didn't actually I never connected in my mind that would be exceptionally bullish for things and organizations that could lean on that, like purvey on that type of information. And we know like a big part of these, like Axios as an example of a newsletter first media organization, kind of like the Free Press, right? A big part of their business is events, right? And The Hustle, where I used to write, was similar to the same thing. Work Week, where I work with the team there now. Events is a huge part of it, right? In the in real life aspect. But I never connected to how you said that not only is it more important, it could be the impetus or catalyst for much more of these local businesses because of how much more important it's going to get. Yeah,
definitely. And I think just to add to that, like we've all seen the graphs, right? Like less time spent with friends as you get older, and even more so since COVID. There is a counter trend of people having to go back into the office, which is maybe helping to reverse some of that. But I think overall, that's still gone down significantly. The younger generation are doing a lot less in person as well. So to me, I know that's not directly just about local TV, but broadening out that idea of, if we don't use that model and you were starting from scratch, you said, well, what can I do to serve my local community, whether that's city or people?
Right. It's a job to be done, right? What is the job to be done of TV? It's communicating information for people that want, right?
Yeah, and share what's happening. Maybe that's local stories, but it's also just connecting people. Like the one I use the most is like local events, because it's actually really difficult to know what's going on. And the more niche it gets, for example, there is also another trend. I know this is not directly what she's asking, but just to give an example, there's a growing trend of people not wanting just to drink and eat out, right? Like less people are drinking alcohol. You've seen the non-alcoholic beer sales go up. It's the only growing category. All those sorts of trends, and specifically in a place like New York, and I'm sure where you live, at a certain age, you're just like, man, I don't want to just do exactly the same thing. Go to a bar, go to a restaurant. Like, what else is going on? And it's always really difficult to know what's going on. And there's so many things going on in a place like New York. And I've started following like very specific newsletters where people are rounding stuff up locally, and then doing interviews with like local businesses and stuff. And that's kind of cool because there's a new opening, and they'll like go and speak to them and tell the story or like the history. For example, this is actually about eating, but there's a local place near me, which was like an old Mexican like taco place that came from California. They had a stand, and then they ran it for decades, and it got closed down like maybe 10 years ago, and they reopened only like last year. And there was this amazing like story, like sharing this history of a local story. That could be something that was on local news, right? Whether that was local newspaper or TV.
I love worked into that. God, people just don't want to eat and drink, people. But here's
but then, if you're looking for a taco spot, yeah. But no, that was just one I thought of. But anyway, so going on a little bit there, but you kind of get the idea. So the summary is, if you're saying local TV specifically in the broadcast model, yeah, I do think it's kind of dead in that model. But if you're thinking with serving what they served previously, then I do think, like you said, you just need to be leaner, do it with less people, and you can make a great living a bit. But yeah, so why don't we save her second question for next week, because we will probably need some other topics anyway. Great question, by the way. Guys. Thanks for sharing that.
Thanks, Olivia.
Nice one, Tron.
All right, man.
All right, hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah, likewise. All right, everyone. We'll speak to you guys next week. It may be a day early next week as well, heads up. So watch out for that episode. And speak to you then. Bye-bye.
Peace.